So ayan, so going back. It's either pili ka ng function ng m of xy or n of xy. So it's up to you. So usually, ang pinipili dyan, ano yung mas madaling integrate? Okay, so alin ang mas madaling integrate, so that's the one that we're going to choose. So regardless, whichever you're going to choose, we will arrive or you will arrive to the same answer. So the first one is, let's say you had chosen m of xy. Okay, so you had chosen n of xy. So let's say this is the one that you had chosen. So this is our formula that we will be using. So we're going to partially integrate the m function of x and y with respect to x. So that means we are holding y to be constant and then integrate natin siya with respect to x. And then do not forget, so plus the phi of y. So that's the function y. Remember this f of xy, so this is f of xy, this is already the function, so corresponding to the differential equation. Okay, so ito lang ang kukunin natin. Okay, so we're going to find the answer there, and then afterwards ang kukunin natin actually is this phi of y. Okay, so this phi of y after integration. So the next step is after partially integrating the function, so we partially differentiate it with respect to y naman. So yung sagot natin dun sa first step, so we partially integrate it with respect to y. So kasi ang gusto natin yan dito, magkaroon ng phi prime of y. Okay, so dito. So phi prime of y. Kasi sabi ko nga, this is already the differential equation, or this would be the component for the differential equation, but we need to get what is phi of y. Okay, so what is phi of y? So the next step is to partially differentiate it with respect to y. And then once you are done, so your answer at the second step, we're going to equate it to n of xy naman. So kasi we are working with m function, no? And then after partially integrating, we partially derive it. After partially deriving it, so we equate it to the other function, which is the n of x and y. So that's the third step. So the last step is, so pag inequate mo na siya, so you'll be able to get, so what would be ito ang makukuha mo dyan, p prime of y is equals to a function of y. So our objective here is we integrate this one, so to find p of y, and then afterwards, so we write the differential equation. Okay, so this is very confusing. So unless we keep on practicing about it. No? So we'll start with partial integration, okay, of what function we had chosen. Then afterwards, we derive it, partially derive it, and then afterwards we equate it. So pag inequate na natin, we get what's the phi of y or phi of x, depending on what we had chosen, and then write the differential equation. So kung ang pinili mo naman is n of xy, baligtad naman. So kung n of xy naman, ang i-add mo is phi of x. Okay, so instead of phi of y, it's phi of x. And then after partially integrating, we partially derive it with respect to x as opposed to with respect to y. Then afterwards, so the answer, the second step, we equate it with m function of x and y. And once we equated it, so we write our differential equation. But before following these steps, so we need to make sure that the equation is an exact equation. The equation is an exact equation. Okay, so let's have our first example. So we have a simple example. We are given x plus y dx plus x minus 1 or x minus y dy is equals to 0. So the function that is multiplied with dx, so we designate that one as m, so which is x plus y. And then the other function, so multiplied with dy, so that's always the case, no? N will be equal to x minus y. So the m is x plus y, and then the n is x minus y. So once we substituted that one, so we're going to partially derive m, so with respect to y. So we're going to hold x to be constant, y to be variable. So what's the derivative of x? So if we partially derive it with respect to y, so what's the derivative of x? So you may chat your answer. Wala akong headset. Derivative of x is dx. So remember, we are holding x to be constant and y to be variable. It is 0. So derivative of x then will be 0. Kasi x is constant, di ba? Ang variable lang dyan is y. So we treat y to be variable. So derivative ng y, so since with respect to y na to, we don't write dy. Okay? So we just simply put derivative of y, it's 1. Okay? So derivative of y, it's 1. Kasi yun na yun, no? Yung partial derivative of y. And next, we partially derive n, so with respect to x naman. So if with respect to x, so x is variable, y is constant. So this will be derivative of x, that is 1 minus 0. So what can we see here? So we can see that the partial derivative of m, so with respect to y, is equals to partial derivative of n, so with respect to x, which is both equal to 1. So therefore, since both are equal to 1, so therefore this is an exact equation. So this is an exact equation. So now, so we start with our first step. So first step natin, partially integrate. So that is our first step. So in this step, so we choose, so whether we're going to use the m function or the n function. So since first step ito, so I'll start with the first one. So pinaka-ano natin, f of xy is equals to the integral of, yun na, no? Yung m, yung pinaka-una natin, m of xy dx plus p of y. So we substitute, ang m of xy natin is x plus y. So we integrate x plus y dx then plus p of y. Okay? So pili ka lang. So whichever of the two. So it's up to you. In this case, I had chosen m. Okay, so x plus y dx. So this time, I'm going to partially integrate it. So tingnan mo yung differential. Kung differential mo is dx, so that means that is the variable. Okay? So yung y niyan will be considered as the constant. So ang gagawin natin, di ba sa integral, so usually the constant, we move it out the integral sign, yung variable, kasama dun sa differential. So in this case, so x plus y multiplied with dx. So we distribute it with differential dx. This is the same as integral of x dx. And then plus y is constant. So ilabas ko lang siya, y, the integral of dx. And then plus p of y. So integral of x dx plus y, the integral of dx plus p of y. So we move out the constant. So matitira lang sa loob will be the variable. So f of xy then, so will be, what's the integral of the x dx? So power rule, x squared all over 2. Tapos dito naman, so since constant lang yan, I'm going to write the constant. And then what's the integral of dx? What's the integral of dx? It's x. Very good. So it's x. Then plus py. Then short, yun na yun. No? So i-rearrange ko lang. So x squared all over 2. So plus xy plus p of y. So that's our first step. Partially integrate. Our second step, so partially differentiate. So, ano yung di-differentiate natin? So, yung kanina kasi nag-i-integrate tayo with respect to x. Pag nag-differentiate ka naman, ito naman yung kabaliktaran. Kasi our objective is to make this one as phi prime. Okay, so phi prime of y. So, ang gagawin ko, I'm going to partially integrate f of xy, so with respect to y. So this time, so we are holding y to be variable, x to be constant. So anong derivative ng x squared all over 2? What's the partial derivative of x over 2 with respect to y? Zero. Very good. So that will be 0. How about xy? So x is constant, y is variable. So what is the partial derivative of xy? So with respect to y. Okay, so that is plus x. X lang, di ba? Kasi ang i-derive ko lang dito is yung y. Derivative of y is 1. So 1 times x, that is x. Okay? And lastly, so ang derivative ng p of y, so will be p prime of y. Okay? Kasi with respect to y. So maglagay lang tayo ng prime. Okay, so p prime of y. So now that we got that one, ang gagawin natin, so we proceed with the third step. So which is equate. So anong i-equate natin? So we equate, ito, yung partial derivative of xy. So with respect to y, doon sa hindi mo pinili. So kanina pinili mo is m function. So this time, so we're going to equate it with n function of x and y. So n function of x and y. So paano ba siya nun? So ito, the partial derivative of f of xy, so with respect to y, so ito yan, that is x plus p prime of y. Then equated to nxy. So what is nxy? Ito yung nxy natin. So x minus y. X minus y. And then we perform the operations involved. So we have x here. Then we have x at the right-hand side. So magka-cancel out lang yun, no? So dito mo ma-check actually whether what you're doing is correct or not. Kasi remember that this is p prime of y. So dapat, so after equating, okay, so equating the partial derivative with the n function, so we should arrive to an equation. We should arrive to an equation wherein everything is a function of y. Sir, may tanong ko lang po sana ulit. Saan galing yung x minus y sa right-hand side? So, saan galing ito? Ito. Yung n is equals to x minus y. So, basta ang pinili mo, let's say m. Ito, ang pinili kasi natin na partially integrate is the m function. So, pagdating natin sa third step, we equate it with the n function. Pero kung ang first step mo, ang partially integrate mo is the n function, ang pinili mo itong n. Pag nag-equate ka, equate mo siya nun sa m naman. Baligtad naman siya. Okay? So ngayon, so pag inequate mo siya, you'll be able to check your answer is correct if, okay, let's say this one, this is a function of y. Dapat ang matira dyan, puro y. Kapag may natirang x dyan, there's something wrong on what you have done. Kung sa kabila naman, yung next step, so let's say, pinili ko is n function, then inequate ko siya sa m. So kasi pag n function ang pinili mo, instead na phi of y yan, magiging siyang phi of x. So kapag n ang pinili mo, nag-equate ka, dapat matitira puro x. Pero kung m function ka nag-start, dapat matitira puro y. So kapag hindi nagiging ganon, there's something wrong along the process. You have to go back. Okay? So now that I have this one, ang kailangan ko will be what is phi of y. Okay? So what is phi of y? Kasi this is phi prime of y. So I'm going to integrate this time. So I'm going to integrate this. So lagyan mo lang siya ng dy, lagyan mo ng dy yun. So therefore, this one would become phi of y will be equal to negative y squared all over 2. So ngayon, now that I know this, so pwede ko nang balikan nito. Okay? Yung sagot natin dun sa first step. So copy that. And then substitute. So f of xy is equals to x squared all over 2 plus xy, then minus y squared all over 2. And then so happened that ito na yung step 4 natin. That yung f of xy natin, that will be equal to c. So for our general solution. So the general solution then so will be x squared all over 2 plus xy minus y squared all over 2 is equals to c. So ang gusto natin, so we can multiply everything by 2. So this one will become x squared. So plus 2xy minus y squared is equals to 2. So 2 times c will be 2. And now this will be our general solution. X squared plus 2xy minus y squared is equals to c, sorry. Is equals to c will be our general solution. So that's how we do exact equations. Questions? I'll do checking. Kasi simple lang siya. Pag mahaba to, it's difficult to check. So let's say meron daw tayong x squared plus 2xy minus y squared equals to c. So sabi natin, this is a solution of the differential equation. And then if you could still recall in verification of solution of differential equation, so dapat, pag binalik ko yan, pwede siyang bumalik doon sa original equation. Ano ba yung original equation natin? This one, x plus y dx plus x minus y dy is equals to 0. So our equation is a first order differential equation. So since we are given a differential equation here or a solution of the differential equation, so para bumalik siya doon sa original equation, so we need to derive this one first derivative lang. So how do we derive this? So derivative ng x squared, so that would be 2x dx. So derivative of 2xy, that would be plus 2. So we use product rule. So ang u natin is x, ang y, derivative ng y is dy. And plus y, derivative ng x, that is dx. And minus y squared will be 2y, dy is equals to, derivative ng constant, 0. So this would be 2x dx plus 2x dy plus 2y dx minus 2y dy is equals to 0. So I'm going to group yung dx. 2x dx plus 2y dx. And yung isa naman plus 2x dy minus 2y dy is equals to 0. So pagsama natin yung dx, common ng 2. So this one will be x plus y, multiply it with dx. So ganun din sa kabila, common ng 2, x minus y dy is equals to 0. And then I can multiply everything by 1/2. So since merong lahat 2 na yan, so makancel lang yan. So x plus y dx, so plus x minus y dy is equals to 0. And this was our original equation. So x plus y dx plus x minus y dy is equals to 0. So similar to our original equation. And thus, our solution is correct. Di ba? Ang haba ng proseso, but then we arrive to a certain answer. Okay? Can we follow? So that's the easiest example, of course. So since that's the first one, so I want you to be familiar with the steps first. So, ano muna? So, be familiar with the steps. Ito, dagdagan na natin. Habaan na natin siya. Number 2. So, basta yung nakamultiply ng dx, so that is our m. So, this would be y squared minus 2xy plus 6x. And then, for n naman dito niyan, so remember, merong negative dun sa unahan. Okay, so this one. So do not forget that. Okay, so this is common mistake. So when they saw negative there, so pinapabayaan. Kasi a difference of sign could already make you conclude that it is non-exact even though it is exact. Kasi a different sign, okay, so that makes it a non-exact already. Kahit parehas pa yung variable pero hindi parehas yung sign, that's already a non-exact equation. So that is why, so in this case, I need to distribute this negative. So I distribute ko siya dun sa loob. So that would make it negative x squared. So negative and negative, so positive 2xy, and then a negative 2. So negative x squared, positive 2xy minus 2. So we partially derive m, so with respect to y. So y squared lang ito, so that would be 2y. Then minus 2xy, derivative ng y, it's 1. So times negative 2x, it's negative 2x. So derivative of 6x, 6x is constant, so that will be 0. So partial derivative of n, so with respect to x naman. So this would be negative x squared. Or sorry. Negative 2x. And then derivative of x, it's 1. So times 2y, so that will be 2y. Derivative of negative 2, it is 0. So we can see now that both partial derivatives are equal. So therefore, this is an exact equation. So now, so we proceed with our first step. First step is partially integrate. Palitan ko naman to. So ang gagamitin ko is yung n. So f of xy, so I'll be using n of xy dy. And then this one should be phi of x instead of phi of y. So f of xy then will be equal to, so yung buong n yung may negative. So that is negative x squared plus 2xy minus 2, and then dy. Integrate it, and then plus p of x. So f of xy then, so will be negative integral of x squared. So dy pala tayo, so x is constant, so negative x squared, the integral of dy, and then plus 2x, the integral of y dy, then minus 2, the integral of dy, then plus p of x. So we integrate. So negative x squared, integral ng dy, that's y, and then plus 2x, integral ng y dy, it's y squared all over 2, and minus 2 dy, that will be y, plus p of x. So f of xy natin, so simplify this one, negative x squared y, then plus xy squared minus 2y plus p of x. So our second step, so yan ang differential equation natin, no? Kuhanin na lang natin yung p of x. So we partially derive this one with respect to x. We partially derive it with respect to x. So derivative of negative x squared, that's negative 2x. Then we attach y. So dito naman, derivative of x, it's 1. So times y squared, it's just y squared. And derivative of negative 2y, so since that is constant, that will become 0. And then plus, so derivative of this would be p prime of x. So p prime of x. So now that we have that, so we equate. So saan natin equate ito? So since n ito, so we equate it with m. So equate it with the m function. So that will be negative 2xy, so plus y squared plus p prime of x. So will be equal to, so ano ba yung m kanina? Y squared minus 2xy plus 6x. Y squared minus 2xy plus 6x. So, tignan mo ulit. So negative 2xy, negative 2xy. Positive y squared, positive y squared. So what remains? So p prime of x is equals to 6x. So it's, everything is a function of x. So therefore, I am confident that, okay, probably my answer is correct. So, tapos we integrate. So we add dx. So phi of x then will be 6x squared all over 2. So which is 3x squared. And finally, so we write our answer. So ano ba yung sagot natin? So ito yung pinakasagot natin, di ba? So our f of xy is negative x squared y plus xy squared minus 2y, and plus our p of x is 3x squared. And finally, so we'll have negative x squared y, so plus xy squared minus 2y plus 3x squared is equals to c. So that will be our general solution. Negative x squared y plus xy squared minus 2y plus 3x squared equals to 6. Clarifications? So this is procedural step. But then we have to master. So remember, ng conceptual memory natin, yes.
Excuse me po, sir. Yung tanong ko lang po dito sa number
May
2 natin.
nagtatas ng kamay. Pero parang
Yes
hindi ko
po.
naririnig. May nag-question? Or napindot lang? Robin. Yeah.
Sira po ba yung mic, sir?
Hindi, ako yung walang speaker. Taglit. Tingnan ko kung maanda. Yes.
Dinig na po ba, sir? Hello? Hello po.
Hindi ko naririnig. Yeah, ako yung walang speaker. Ayan. Can you try again, please?
Hello po.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Tatanong ko lang po sana kung ano yung method po natin dito. Pinakita niyo po, imbes na M, N po yung ginamit natin. Tapos sa step 3 po,
Yes.
M yung ginamit para ma-equate si phi of x. Yun lang po sana. Nakuha ko na po.
Okay, good. So, ano lang siya, no? Baligtad lang. So, kung nag-start tayo sa M, mag-equate tayo sa N. Kung nag-start tayo sa N function, i-equate natin siya sa M. Kasi there are cases na madali yung integrate yung M as compare sa N. So, mag-start tayo sa M. There are cases naman na madaling integrate yung N function as compared dun sa M. Kaya mag-start tayo sa N. So ngayon, kung pares silang madali, it's up to us. Kung pares silang mahirap, it's up to us. Okay. Okay. So, nung in-update ko kasi yung dito, OS ko dito, nagka-problema na yung speaker. Anyway, so let's proceed with example number 3. So example number 3, okay, so this time around, it's a trigo differential equation. So, pero it's the same thing. So ang M natin dito niyan is cosine x, cosine y, minus cotangent x. Tapos ang N function natin, so don't forget the negative. So negative sine x, sine y. So we partially derive M, so with respect to y. So x is constant. So ano ang derivative ng cosine? Cosine y. So cosine y, it's negative sine y. And then we just copy cosine x. Kasi cosine x is constant. So we retain cosine x and then we derive cosine y. Derivative of cosine y, it's negative sine y. The negative cotangent x will serve as a constant. So therefore, that will be 0. So, pagdating naman sa n, so with respect to x, So that would be negative. So derivative of sine x, so ito yung variable natin, will be cosine x. And then we just write the constant, so which is sine y. And as we can see here, so both of them are equal to negative cosine x sine y. So therefore, this is exact. So since exact ito, so which one are we going to start with? So as I can see, mas konti yung nasa right-hand side as compared na sa left hand. Sa left hand, dalawang terms tayo, di ba? Sa right-hand side, iisa lang. So I would prefer to use yung pangalawa. So diretso ko na, no? So f of xy, so since n function nito, so integral of negative sine x sine y dy, then plus p of x. So since dy yun, no? So p of x. So f of xy then, so move out lang natin yung constant, that is negative sine x. Integral of sine y dy, and plus p of x. So f of xy then is equals to, so negative sine x, sine x. So supposedly negative, no? Kaya lang ang integral ng sine y will be negative cosine y. So negative and negative, so that make it positive. So kaya positive cosine y na lang siya. So sine x cosine y, and then plus p of x. So sine x cosine y. So again, sa integral of sine y, it's negative cosine y. So may negative sa taas, so multiply it, making it positive. So now that we have that, so we proceed with our second step. So we partially derive x and y, so with respect to x. So derivative ng sine x, it's cosine x times cosine y, then plus p prime of x. Derivative of sine x is cosine x, and then we just multiply cosine y because that is a constant. And then the third one, so we equate the partial derivative of x and y, this time with m of xy. So this is cosine x, cosine y. Ang m function natin is ito, cosine x, cosine y. Negative cotangent x. May nakaligtan ako. So you still have plus p prime of y. Cosine x, cosine y, p prime of y. So again, so cosine x, cosine y, cosine x, cosine y. And thus leaving us p prime of y to be equal to negative cotangent of x. So we integrate. So with respect to y, or x pala yun, not y. So kasi, ito na diba? P of x, dx, dx. So this would be p of x. So anong integral ng cosine x? Cotangent x. Ln sine x. So our answer then so would be minus ln of sine x. So now, so this is our answer then. So we go back to our first step. So we copy it, paste it here, and then substitute. So f of xy then is sine x cosine y minus ln of sine x. Then we equate this one as sine x cosine y minus ln of sine x is equals to c. And that one becomes our final answer. So sine x cosine y minus ln sine x is equal to c. Okay? Okay, another one. So 2x plus y cosine xy dx plus x cosine xy dy is equal to 0. M natin is 2x plus y cosine xy. N natin is x cosine xy. So we partially derive m, so with respect to y, so 2x will be 0. Not going to write it anymore. Then I have y cosine xy. Y cosine xy. So y at cosine xy both involves y. So therefore, we use product rule. So sa product rule, again, u dv plus v du. So ang u natin is y, ang v natin is cosine xy. So u is y, tapos multiply it with dv, derivative ng cosine xy. So derivative ng cosine xy will be, derivative of cosine, it's negative sine xy. Derivative of cosine, negative sine xy. Kaya lang, chain rule tayo. So we have xy. Ano ang partial derivative ng xy with respect to y? That will just be x. So multiply natin yung x doon. Did you get that one? So diderive ko muna yung cosine xy. So ang derivative niya, it's negative sine xy. But then may derivative ang xy. So ang derivative ng xy, it's x. Okay? Kasi derivative ng y, it's 1. So 1 times x, it's x. So kumbaga, ito yung pinaka-u natin, ito yung dv. So, kulang pa natin yan will be plus v du. So ang v natin is cosine xy so v, ang du natin, derivative of y, that will be 1. So u dv, ito ang v natin, ito ang du. So rewriting that, so the partial derivative of m, so with respect to y, will be negative xy sine xy, then plus cosine xy. So negative xy sine xy plus cosine xy. So how about n? Partial derivative of n, so with respect to x. So ganun din ito, no? So u natin is x. And we derive so derivative ng cosine, it's negative sine xy. Kaya lang, so since this is with respect to x, derivative ng x, it's 1. Multiply it with y, so meron tayong minus y doon. Minus y sine x. Then plus, so ito naman ang u natin, this is our v. So kulang na lang would be v du. So ang v natin is cosine xy. So derivative of x, that is 1. So the partial derivative of n, so with respect to x would be negative xy sine xy, then plus cosine xy. And as we can see here, so both are equal. And therefore, that is an exact equation. So we proceed with our first step. So anong gagawin natin? Is it m or n? Which is advisable to use? N, di ba? So mas konti yung n. So f of xy, so will be equal to the integral of n function, so which is x cosine xy dy. And then, so since dy yan, so p of x. So f of xy, so we move out constant, so constant ang x. Ang problema, ayun nga, hindi na natin pwedeng i-move out yung xy kasi kasama siya sa loob. No? So, plus p of x. But then, so remember, ang u natin yan dito, yung variable natin yan dito is ano, di ba? It's y. So magiging u natin dito niyan is xy. So therefore, pag dinerive ko yan, so the variable is it's y. Okay, so pag dinerive natin yan, so that will be x. Yan, sama na natin yung dy, no? Okay, so since andun na pala siya, di na ako mag-neutralizing factor. Okay? Ipasok ko na lang siya ulit. So, sorry. So, mayroon akong cosine xy. I-rearrange ko lang. So, yung x, ilagay ko na siya dito. So, ang u natin is xy, ang du natin is x dy. So, which is already this. So, therefore, pwede ko na siyang integrate right away. So, anong integral niya? So, anong integral ng cosine? Positive sine xy. And plus p of x. Then afterwards, yes, positive sign. So afterwards, so we derive this. Second step, so we derive. So with respect to x. So derivative ng sine, it's cosine. So cosine xy. Then derivative ng xy, that would just be with respect to x. It would just be y. So plus P prime of x. Then we equate the partial derivative of xy. So with respect to x, we equate it with m of xy. So y cosine of xy, ang m natin is this. 2x plus y cosine xy. 2x plus y cosine xy. May nakaligtaan na naman ako. So, plus p prime of x. So again, so this one is cancelled out. P prime of x is equals to 2x. So therefore, we integrate. So p prime of x dx equals to 2 the integral of x dx. So therefore, p of x will be, so x is x squared all over 2. So matitira will just be x squared. And finally, so copying our answer for the first step. So f of xy is equals to sine xy plus x squared. So therefore, sine of xy plus x squared is equals to c. Okay. Sine xy plus x squared is equals to c. And that's it. Di ba? Ulit lang. Ito na yung last example, pinakamahaba. I'll try to finish it early kasi you have an activity. Yeah, you need practice. Procedural sila, you need practice. So that's why we have an activity later on. So we can finish early. Ano, you're going to submit it 2 days after. Pero syempre, kung ayaw yung matambakan, okay, so use the time wisely. Use your time wisely. So ito na yung last example natin. Okay, so last example. Medyo mahaba-haba siya, which involves exponential function. Again, so if there's a product involved, so within the differential, i-distribute mo na siya. Okay, so kung sign yan, i-distribute mo na. So distribute na natin. So 2x times 3x, we have 6x squared. Plus 2x times y, so 2xy, and minus 2xy e raised to negative x squared. And then ang n natin is x squared plus 3y squared plus e raised to negative x squared. So we derive m, so with respect to y. So 0 yung una. So yung pangalawa, derivative of y, it's 1. So matitira will be 2x. And then pangatlo, y. Nag-isa lang yung y. So derivative ng y, it's 1. So matitira would be negative 2x e raised to negative x squared. So, kasi y lang yung natitira doon. So yung sa n naman, so with respect to x, so x squared will be 2x. So 3y squared will be 0. So derivative ng e raised to negative x squared will be e raised to negative x squared. Then derivative ng negative x squared, it's negative 2x. So thus, it is an exact equation. So first step, so which is easier as compared to the two? Rest lang. Mas madali daw yung n. Okay? So kasi wala nang product, no? Okay. Sa bagay, kasi pagdating dito, may x ka, meron kang e raised to negative x squared. Okay, so mag-aano ka pa doon? Uh, hindi sila same. Look at this. So, nakamultiply ito sa dx, di ba? So, kung dito ka mag-uumpisa sa m, ang mangyayari sa'yo, ang variable mo lang dyan is yung y. And then meron kang x, meron kang e raised to negative x squared. So, kung partial integrate ka dyan, ang integral nun, tawag dito, by parts. Okay? So, medyo mahirap siya. So, doon tayo sa madali. Huwag natin pahirapan sarili natin. Kahit ako ba, di ko lang sagutin ko. So, doon tayo sa, di tayo mapapahamak. Doon sa n. So, f of xy equals to integral of x squared, so plus 3y squared, plus e raised to negative x squared. Then, dy plus p of x. So, f of xy, so will be, so distribute ko yan. So, x squared, the integral of dy, yung isa, plus 3, the integral of y squared dy, and then plus e raised to negative x squared dy, plus p of x. Di ba mas madali? So, ba't ko pahirapan yung sarili ko dun sa mahirap? So, f of xy, so x squared, integral ng dy, it's y, plus 3, integral ng y squared is y cubed over 3. So, cancel na yung 3. So, matitira will be y cubed, x squared y, plus y cubed. And lastly, so dy, it's y. So, unahin ko na, y e raised to negative x squared. And plus p of x. First step. So, second step, so partial derivative of xy. So, with respect to x. So, this should be 2xy. Y cubed will be 0. And then, plus, yung y muna. And then, derivative ng e raised to negative x squared, it's e raised to negative x squared. Then, derivative ng negative x squared, that would be negative 2x. So, plus p of x. Or p prime of x. So, e raised to negative x squared. So, derivative is negative 2x times y. Okay. So, for our third step, so we equate this one to m function. So, 2xy minus 2xy e raised to negative x squared. So, plus p prime of x will be equal to sa m 6x squared plus 2xy minus 2xy plus 2xy to negative x squared. 2xy. So 2xy, 2xy. Negative 2xy, negative 2xy. Yun yung natira. So p prime of x is equals to 6x squared. So we integrate this one with respect to x. So p of x will be 6. So x cubed over 3, that will be 2x cubed. And finally, so f of xy is equals to x squared y plus y cubed plus y e negative x squared and plus 2x cubed. X squared y plus y cubed plus y e negative x squared plus 2x cubed equals to c. And let's see. So ulit-ulit na lang siya, no? So it just depend on integration. The process is repetitive. Question? Okay, so it's 2:26. You still have 30 minutes. So you can start. At least kahit yung ano lang, yung first part ng activity. So which is determining so whether the equation is exact or not. Pagkibaba po. Sir, matanong ko lang po. If M po ang napili natin sa step 1, phi Y po ba? Yes. Basta M siya, phi Y ang ano niya, ka-partner niya. Kung N naman, phi X naman. Yes, that's a good observation.